head coaching firing here real quick. Georgia Tech fired Jeff Collins. I mean, boy, the writing was so on the wall with this one. It was on the wall with
We knew it was
basically.
going to happen.
First of all, this is just from a program perspective. Georgia Tech, you have your out of conference rivalry with Georgia. Good old fashioned hate. So you have to play Georgia every single year in the non-con.
And so you know you're going to lose once every year.
Knowing you already have that game locked in as your non-con at the end of every year, why are you scheduling Ole Miss and UCF? It's like, come on, you can at least control what your non-conference is. If you're going to play Georgia every year out of the non-conference, you might as well schedule a bunch of G5 cupcakes and just rack up some wins. And then secondly, they're locked in as a locked-in cross-rival with Clemson every year. So they have to play Clemson and Georgia every year. They are locked into that. And if I'm not mistaken, with the ACC's new scheduling format, I believe Georgia Tech is locked in with Clemson, right? So if you know you have to play Clemson and Georgia every year, why are you doing this? Why are you scheduling Ole Miss and UCF?
I don't know if you're the AD for Georgia Tech. One, why would you schedule that? Two, why would you expect any other result than the result that you are getting from Jeff Collins? Three, why would you fire Jeff Collins this early into the season and then pay him that $11 million buyout when the whole trajectory of your program is not going to change by the end of the year? You might as well have kept him on and saved some money. I mean, it's just financially irresponsible.
It is what it is. As far as the job itself, though, Georgia Tech, I know we talked a lot about Arizona State and Nebraska. We made a video about that. Go check it out if you're interested in that kind of thing. But as far as a standalone job, what do you think about Georgia Tech? I feel as if it's not as attractive of a job as...
I wouldn't take it. Like, let me just tell you this. If I was like an OC or a DC at like another Power 5 institution, like even just a mid-range institution, like say I was the OC for UNC or something like that, and I'm over there, you know, I get a call from the AD at Georgia Tech about the head coaching position, I'm not taking that, man, because I know I'm going to be out of a job in like 2 or 3 years. I mean, sure, like I can make a little bit of money in the meantime, but when you're a coordinator, when you're a coach, your whole dream is to move up and eventually be a head coach, but not at the sacrifice of your whole career. Because if you go to G Tech, you don't succeed, your next landing spot is probably going to be not the OC at UNC like you were previously, but maybe like the OC at like Tulane or something, which no knock on Tulane, but you're definitely taking a step backwards doing that. And so it's just not worth it to me. Especially given their schedule, man. They're locked into Georgia, Clemson. That's 2 L's you will take every year. You're not going to just start out recruiting those teams every single year. And then even if you start developing people, look at Jahmyr Gibbs, man. They had a stud running back in Jahmyr Gibbs. As soon as you start developing someone, they're just going to leave. So it's not a job that you can have success at, unless you really get some NIL boosters in there. But as of right now, it doesn't look like Georgia Tech has that. So if I am a coach of any caliber, an OC who wants a head coaching job, I am passing on this one and I'm waiting for the next opportunity.
To be fair, it is some of the pros about this job. It is in Atlanta, so that's obviously like quality of life. I would feel if you were a coach there is probably better because you've access to a major city and whatnot. And you're in the South, which helps with recruiting. But yeah, like you just said, you're still not going to get the best recruits. You're going to lose a recruiting battle every single time to Clemson and Georgia and just about any other team, any other prominent program in the Southeast. But if I was Georgia Tech, you could say this about a lot of schools, but like you're going to try, in my opinion, don't try to find the guy that's the best recruiter, but I would say try to find, the Lance Leipold types. Just find a guy that can build a program and sort of kind of do what Paul Johnson did. Not saying you have to run the triple option again, but find a guy who can just develop talent. You're still in the ACC. The ACC isn't some daunting mountain that you have to climb to get towards the top. If Georgia Tech hires a guy that can build a program, recruit and develop, good 3-star, high 3-star talent, I feel like Georgia Tech can have success as long as you just don't expect them to have to compete with Georgia and Clemson every year.
Hey man, if you're looking for that next type, try to poach from James Madison, team that doesn't recruit well, but they're out here collecting names already. So
I already heard this name by someone else, but Jamie Chadwell, Coastal Carolina's coach. I feel like he's a guy that would be a good fit there.
Yeah, for sure, and it definitely would be a step up from Coastal. No disrespect to Coastal, but it is a step up. It's a Power 5 job. But again, if you're a coach like Jamie Chadwell who's having sustained success now and knows that you might be able to leverage a position maybe in the future if you continue that success, I don't know if I would jump to Georgia Tech. given the risk. I would probably wait for a better or more safer opportunity.
Really quick before we move on, if you were a head coach and you had the opportunity to go to one of these two places, would you rather go to Arizona State or Georgia Tech?
Arizona State.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like it's not really that close either.
It's not close at all. Look, man, with Arizona State, you're playing in a weaker conference. Like, I would not ACC in general, but I'd say like overall, you play a much more manageable schedule. You are close to the recruiting backyard in California, which is an actual cesspool for talent. You go to, I mean, Arizona State has a large alumni base. They have a lot of money. There's also it's a major party school, so that's another draw for young men that you might attract to your program. Of course, it's not why you want them to come there, but you can't deny that it is definitely something that can be influential in recruiting. So, I mean, Arizona State, there's a lot of upside with that program. They just got to escape their sanctions. But compared to Georgia Tech, man, Arizona State doesn't have to go play Georgia and Clemson every single year. Arizona State might have to play like, Oregon, Utah, I mean, that's more, I'd rather play those two teams than Georgia and Clemson. Let me just say that. So 100% Arizona State.
Agreed. Georgia Tech also has a little bit of academic standards too. That's also a bit of a challenge that, Arizona State doesn't have, but it's hard to believe, man. It's hard to believe that, and Georgia Tech they were in the Orange Bowl, remember, in 2015 or 14, I believe.
It just comes to show what time does.